Record Journal Entry Window. The Record Journal Entry window allows you to enter transactions that aren't specific to the banking, sales, purchases and inventory command centers. Field descriptions tax inclusive. Select this option when you are recording transactions that are allocated a tax code and are tax inclusive. General Journal. When you begin to create a transaction in this window, this field automatically displays the next Premier GJ General Journal number available. You can choose to delete auto and enter a new number for the transaction. If you enter a number here, consider leaving the GJ prefix assigned to the number, so it's easy for you to distinguish the transaction as a General Journal transaction. Date. Enter the date of the transaction. Memo. Using up to 255 characters, enter a description of the transaction. This description will appear on various Premier reports, as well as the General Journal. Account column and name columns. The account column appears only if select and display account name, not account number is marked in the Windows view of the Preferences window. Enter the name of the accounts you want to assign to this transaction, or click the search icon to display a search list of accounts. To choose from the account column and name columns appear only if select and display account name, not account number is not marked in the Windows view of the Preferences window. Enter the number of the accounts you want to assign to this transaction in the account column. Press Tab and the account name displays in the name column. Debit column. Enter debit amounts for the transaction in this column. Note that the total of the debit column entries must match the total of the credit column entries. Credit column. Enter credit amounts for the transaction in this column. Note that the total of the credit column entries must match the total of the debit column entries. Job column. Enter the job to which you want to assign the entry, or click the search icon to display a search list of jobs to choose from. If you need to assign an amount from one account to more than one job, use multiple lines to record the transaction. Memo column. Using up to 255 characters, enter a description for each allocation line, if you wish. This description will appear on the General Journal, Cash Disbursements and Cash Receipts reports. Tax column. When you select an account in the account column and press Tab, the default tax code specified for the account will be displayed in the tax column. You can also choose a tax code other than the default code for this entry from the drop-down list. Total debit. This field displays the total amounts debit column entered above. If the amounts in this field and the total credit field are the same, you can click Record to record the transaction. Total credit. This field displays the total amounts credit column entered above. If the amounts in this field and the total debit field are the same, you can click Record to record the transaction. Tax. This field displays the total tax amount. Out of balance. This field displays the amount by which this journal entry is out of balance. If the amount appears below the debit column, the debit amount is larger than the credit amount. If the amount appears below the credit column, the credit amount is larger than the debit amount. To record a journal entry, the total debit amount must equal the total credit amount, meaning 0.00 should appear in the out of balance field. Save as recurring. Click to open the Edit Recurring Schedule window, and create a recurring General Journal transaction. You can change the information on a recurring transaction as needed. If you've saved the journal entry as recurring, and you want to record the transaction as an actual General Journal entry now, click Record. If you don't want to record the transaction at this time, click Cancel. Use Recurring. Click to open the Select the Recurring Transaction window, and select a recurring General Journal transaction. Currency. Click to display the currency that is used for the transaction. The Exchange Rate window opens. This option appears only if you mark the Ideal in Multiple Currencies field in the System view of the Preferences window. Categories. Select from the list the category to which you wish to assign this transaction. The categories in this list were created in the Edit Category window. This field appears only if you selected the Turn Category Tracking on option in the System view of the Preferences window. If you selected the required option when you chose that preference, you must select a category here before you can record this transaction. Journal. Click to open the Transaction Journal window. Record. Click to record the transaction. Note that the out of balance amount must be 0, before you can record the transaction. Cancel. Click to close the window.